Hey everyone, and welcome. Ready to dive into another career deep dive?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, today we're tackling Vehicle Maintenance Supervisor, and we've got a whole stack of RoleCatcher insights to help us out. Career guides, interview tips, the works.
Sounds like we're in for a thorough breakdown.
Oh, you bet. And the first thing that struck me going through all this, it's not just about being a master mechanic. There's a whole lot of leadership and management woven in.
Right off the bat, and that's clear from the get-go. The RoleCatcher guide puts a huge emphasis on the managerial side.
Yeah, it's not just about fixing cars, right? It's about managing people, resources, the whole shebang.
Exactly. In fact, management of personal resources is highlighted as a core skill.
Okay, so how important are we talking here? Give me a percentage.
57%, that's how vital those people skills are.
Wow, 57%. That's a lot. So we're talking head mechanic, A&D motivational speaker, all in one.
You got it. You've got to keep those engines humming and your team inspired. It's a delicate balance. I bet. I imagine it's like herding cats sometimes, but with wrenches instead of toys.
More like diagnostic equipment and spare parts, but you get the idea. It's not just about the cars, it's about the people, for sure.
So, on top of managing the crew, what else does this RoleCatcher guide highlight? What's a typical day look like?
Well, you're essentially overseeing the service station's whole operation. Think of it like you're the conductor of an orchestra.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go on.
But instead of instruments, you've got lifts and air compressors.
Yeah,
And your sheet music. That's the service manual.
love the analogy. So, you need to have a handle on everything, scheduling repairs, ordering parts, maybe even balancing the budget, right?
You nailed it. It's a juggling act for sure. And here's where it gets even more interesting. We're talking about an industry that's evolving crazy fast. Electric vehicles, alternative fuels, all that's changed the game.
It's true. The automotive landscape is transforming right before our eyes. So how does that impact the vehicle maintenance supervisor? What are we talking about here? Hydrogen fuel cells, self-diagnosing cars.
You're hitting all the right points. This isn't your grandpa's garage anymore.
So what you're saying is,
A vehicle maintenance supervisor, nowadays, needs to be comfortable with the old school combustion engine A&D, the complexities of electric vehicles.
okay, so it's like being a mechanic from the future, almost.
In a way, yeah. Instead of changing oil, you might be analyzing battery performance or troubleshooting software glitches.
Wow, that's a whole different ballgame. You're not just a mechanic anymore, you're a tech whiz. Sounds like there's a pretty steep learning curve for this job.
No kidding. This isn't just a job. It's like prepping for a sci-fi movie over here. But even with all this fancy tech, I'm guessing some core skills never go out of style, right?
You're absolutely right. The fundamentals are still key.
So what's top of the list? I'm going to guess good old-fashioned mechanical skills are still up there.
You know it. Can't forget the basics. RoleCatcher gives that a solid 66% importance rating.
Makes sense, right? You're a mechanic after all. But I'm betting there are some curveballs in those top skills too. Stuff that people might not expect. Oh, for sure. Remember all that talk about diagnostics and software? Well, monitoring is right up there with hands-on mechanical work, 57%.
Whoa, no kidding. Monitoring tied with mechanical. So not just keeping an eye on the clock then. This sounds way more high-tech.
It's a whole other level. Think analyzing data from sensors, making sense of those diagnostic reports, even predicting problems before they happen.
So it's like being a detective, but for cars.
Exactly. It's about being proactive, not just fixing things after they break.
Which probably explains why reading comprehension is also a top skill, right?
Bingo. And I'm not just talking about skimming through a repair manual. We're talking technical documents, industry reports, maybe even research papers on the latest and greatest in automotive tech.
Wow. So you're not just a mechanic, you're practically a scholar. Constantly got to be learning, huh?
This industry never sits still.
Speaking of moving up, the RoleCatcher guide talked about career paths too. What's the usual route to becoming a vehicle maintenance supervisor?
Well, most folks start as vehicle maintenance technicians, getting their hands dirty, learning the ropes.
That classic start from the bottom approach.
Exactly. From there, you might become a senior technician, more responsibility, maybe mentoring some newbies.
Working your way up the ladder, building that expertise, but are there ways to stand out? To really show you're ready for that supervisor role?
Absolutely. ASE certifications are huge in this field.
Ah, yeah, I've heard of those. What are they exactly?
Think of it like a gold standard. It shows you're serious about your career, that you've got the skills to back it up.
Like a black belt in car repair. So those certifications plus that hands-on experience, that's the ticket.
It's a great foundation, but acing the interview is crucial. And that's where RoleCatcher really shines. They've got this massive database of interview questions.
How massive are we talking?
Try over 120,000.
Whoa, 120,000 questions. That's a lot of interview prep. They must cover everything under the sun.
Pretty much. But don't worry, they filter it down based on the specific job you're going for.
Okay, so no need to cram for every possible car question then. Still, with interviews, it always feels like there's so much pressure. Does RoleCatcher help you practice your answers too?
They do. They've got this really cool AI-powered feedback system. You record yourself answering common questions, and the AI gives you personalized pointers.
Talk about next-level interview prep. It's like having a secret weapon in your pocket. And I bet that kind of feedback is especially helpful for showing off those less obvious skills, right? The monitoring, the reading comprehension, proving you're not just about the grease, you're about the brains too.
Exactly. It's all about connecting those dots, showing how your skills match what the job needs. So instead of just saying, I'm a good reader, you can say something like,
I once used my reading comprehension skills to decipher a super complicated diagnostic report, and that saved the day, prevented a total breakdown.
now you're talking. You've got to paint that picture. Problem solver, leader, someone who can roll with the punches.
Speaking of curveballs, there's this one big one we haven't really touched on yet, this whole automation thing, self-driving cars, robots changing tires. What happens to the vehicle maintenance supervisor when the robots take over the garage?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And it's something everyone in this field is grappling with.
For sure. So what do you think? Will we see supervisors specializing in software, sensors, all that? Or maybe overseeing fleets of these autonomous vehicles, making sure the algorithms are behaving themselves?
The possibilities are mind-blowing,
Oh.
but also a little uncertain.
It's like we're standing on the edge of a whole new world and we don't know what the rules are yet.
Exactly. But if there's one thing we've learned today, it's that adaptability is key in this industry.
Adaptability, that's the name of the game.
Well, this deep dive has been a wild ride. We've gone from the nuts and bolts of the job to robots taking over the world.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. So, any final words of wisdom for our aspiring vehicle maintenance supervisors out there? If you're passionate about cars, if you're curious about technology, if you're ready to lead in a field that's changing every single day, this could be the perfect career for you.
I love it. It's a career that's always evolving.
Embrace the challenge. Never stop learning.
And who knows, maybe in a few years, we'll be back here doing a deep dive on managing your robot repair crew. Until then, thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.